Hello everyone, this is Aman Jaman from TechIs365. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to set up pfSense with multiple public IP address and having multiple VM inside VMware ESXI. In this tutorial, I'm trying to configure a IVM dedicated server, and where I'm going to use a set of public IP address inside the pfSense. Right now I have two VM, one is pfSense and another is Windows 11 machine, which we will be using to test the network. And that pfSense is just a fresh VM, so we're gonna install everything from scratch. So before I start, we have to create a network for LAN for pfSense. So here all of them are internal and internet management for this ESXi host. So we need to create a switch, because whenever we're gonna provision any virtual machine, that should be part of the pfSense network. So we're gonna create a virtual switch. So let's give its name pfSense LAN. And we don't need any uplink, so we're gonna just remove this one and add. As you can see, pfSense LAN in virtual switch is available. Now let's go to port group and add a new port group. Let's also give its name pfSense LAN, and the switch should be the switch we created. Click add and it's added. So now we're going to go back to the machines. In machines, we're going to select pfSense, then actions, add edit. Then as you can see, network adapter, both of them are empty. So in first adapter, we're going to assign public interface, which means we're going to get the public IP address. So this one is public vSwitch. And the second network adapter should be the pfSense LAN group. For some reason it's not showing. Let me check up again. So basically I have to remove it and add them again. So now it's showing. So public switch, where I'll be get the WAN IP address, and LAN switch, pfSense LANs, and here I'm gonna use E100 1000 actually, then also E1000, because that's the actual requirement in order to have run these things. Sometimes some provider have some conflict using VM next to 3 adapter. So once that is done, click on save to make sure it's saved, because we're gonna check again. So it's there. Okay, let's start the VM and wait a minute. Okay, it's started. So as you can see, the LAN IP address is 192.168.1.1/24. So actually we can add WAN LAN right from here. So we're not gonna do that from this console. Instead, we can actually do that using Windows VM, which would be much easier for many of us. So let's close this console. So let's go back to the Windows VM, then edit the VM settings. So inside public adapter, let's switch it to pfSense LAN. So now it's gonna under the LAN address of pfSense. We can actually copy the MAC address, and we'll be needed that later. Save. Let's start the VM. Let's give it a minute. So the VM is started. Let's open the console. Let's maximize it. So now we're gonna check the network first to see if it able to reach the DHCP IP address from pfSense LAN. As we can see, it's already have the DHCP IP address. So now let's try to configure the network. So the LAN address is 192.168.1.1. So pfSense default username is admin and password is pfSense. Next. Primary DNS server. Let's just configure some basic stuff. Next. Okay, here in WAN configuration, so we need to assign a public IP address to our WAN interface in order to have internet access. So we got the public IP address as a static. So we're gonna configure our first IP address. Let's change it to static. Then in configuration, we're gonna put our public IP address 119.119.1. And subnet mask is the network bits or CID of your network. So that's 28 in our case. Then the gateway. So the gateway is right. Once everything is configured, press next. LAN IP address switch is fine. If you want to change LAN IP address, you can change right now in here. So we're gonna just continue. Admin passwords. So let's set admin password. So it's gonna refresh the screen. Finish. Accept. Close. Okay. So let's wait a couple of seconds. First, we're gonna check if we have internet access on the pfSense or not. So let's do a ping. Let's ping 111 and ping. So as you can see, the ping is working, and we haven't got internet yet because we probably need to restart our network interface. Okay, we got internet access now, as you can see. Let's try to visit Google. Okay, we got the internet access. Now we're gonna check IP. As you can see, this is the IP address of pfSense router. So 231. So now we have /28 IP address. So we can actually assign some IP address to some of our devices. Right now we are using as a NAT in pfSense system and using that IP address, only single IP address. So in order to add the whole network inside your pfSense network, so we have to do in here firewall, then virtual IP. Then in virtual IP section, we're going to click add. Then we need to attach the whole network. So we're going to do it as a network. It's going to be proxy ARP. In some case, you can use CRAP. And for some users, probably in US, like Chromecast, they probably need to do IP alias. So most of the case, proxy ARP would be fine. So the interface is WAN, because WAN is the interface where I have like almost almost /28 IP address, almost like 14 probably. So this is the IP address range which is I have, and I have usable IP address is 14. So basically I'm going to configure this network on that particular pfSense network. So now in address, I'm going to type the whole address. So it's 119. So here it will be your full address block. Okay, I don't need to type /28. You can pick from here. Once it is added, let's give it some name. So now whole subnet is added inside pfSense network. Now we like to give one of the IP address to this virtual machine, Windows machine. So let's say we like to have 234 instead of 231. So first we're gonna do some static lease in our LAN section. So let's arrange our LAN to 101 to 150 probably. So we'll have some space which we'll be using as a static DHCP lease. So in DNS server 111.10.01, save. So remember that we copied the MAC address of this device. So we're gonna actually add a static DHCP lease, which is 00/0C/29 3D /71. That was the okay. You can actually do this like this way. Copy my MAC address anyway. So let's give its name RDP IP address. So what's the IP address we like to assign this server? So 192.168.1. Let's give it 151. I think that's it. Click save, apply. Okay. Right now we have IP address of 100. So we're gonna actually disable the interface, and we're gonna enable the interface back in order to receive the new IP address. As you can see, we received the new IP address 151. Okay. So we're gonna do some testing first before we assign an IP address with directly with the server. So we're gonna create a net rule. We're gonna do a port forwarding. Let's do port forwarding of what's called RDP, MS RDP. So we already have RDP open for this server. So we're gonna actually test it out. The single host, the redirect IP actually. So 192.168.1.151, and redirect port is also RDP test. WAN address, which is WAN address. Apply. So now we're gonna open new tab and search. You get signal. Then we're gonna do some port forwarding test. So that's the IP address. Let's check 3389. You can see it's open. So now we're gonna assign a public IP address to this VM. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just edit that rule. Now we're gonna select a public IP address whichever we want. So we're gonna assign 234 and save, apply. So now we're gonna check 234 and check if the port is open or not. Okay, it's showing closed. Let's check again. I think this IP address is used by another device of my network. So let's change the IP address to something else. So let's use 233. apply. Let's go and check 230. Okay, you can see it's open now. So that means when we try to check our IP address is still same. I mean the pfSense IP address. However, now we have floating IP address. So this is we call floating IP address, like what we do in DigitalOcean. So now we also like to change our outbound IP address to see the IP address should be 233. So to do that, we need to go outbound, and then we need to change our outbound rules to hybrid and save and apply. So hybrid rules is apply. Now we have to go 1-to-1. Here we need to set up a mapping that external subnet IP address, it should be the IP address we like to see in internet 214, which is we set few minutes ago, and internal IP address, which is the IP address of the DHCP, which is this server IP address. So it's 192.168. It's 1.151, and destination is anywhere. So RDP outbound IP address rules. I think that's it. Save, apply changes. So now we're gonna test. As you can see, as soon as we refresh this page, our IP address is changed. Now we can see that our IP address is 223. Now if we just refresh this page, now it's also 233, and also we can check port forwarding now, and it's working. So this is how we gonna set up a large number of public IP address, and we can give those IP address to particular VM instead of setting them up manually inside going to each of the VM network and setting up their static IP address. So if this helped you, don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. Thank you.